Super Mario Bros. Wonder released just a few months ago, and I would be lying if I didn't say I wasn't excited for it. I mean, I pre-ordered the game months before when it was first announced. I've never been the biggest Mario fan. Even when I owned my original DS, Mario was not my go-to choice. However, over the past 2 years, I have been getting more into my Switch, and I've been able to go back and play some of the older Mario titles, which I do believe contributed to my overwhelming hype for this game. Even though I did pick up this title on launch day, it took me a while to get to it. But that's fine, I finally made some time, and I recently was able to play through the game. So let's talk about Super Mario Bros. Wonder. The story for Mario Wonder is simple. Mario and his group of friends travel to the Flower Kingdom where Bowser shows up and is attempting to steal all the wonder. He manages to steal the Princess Castle and starts absorbing the wonder from the world around you. This is when it becomes up to Mario and his friends to chase down Bowser and, along with help of the prince, to restore the wonder to the Flower Kingdom. Along the way, you will complete multiple different levels to collect things known as Wonder Seeds, and you'll use these Wonder Seeds to unlock certain stages or castles. Almost all of the different worlds have castles, and within these castles you'll face off against a boss. And if you manage to defeat him, you'll manage to walk away with a royal seed. There are 2 worlds that don't have a castle and a final boss. You just complete a stage and collect a seed. You then use these royal seeds to absorb the piranha clouds surrounding Bowser's castle. When you have collected all 6 seeds and absorbed all the piranha clouds, you will be able to face off against Bowser Castle and free the wonder from within him. So I try my best normally not to spoil anything about the main stories, because I feel like you should enjoy it for yourself. My personal opinion about this story though is, I thought it was okay. I mean, I'm not a crazy big Mario fan, and I feel like there isn't much that really changes about the stories within Mario games. Bowser or another villain typically takes over some kingdom or does something, and then it's up to Mario and his friends to take down the villain. While going through the different worlds in this game, you will collect different badges, which I'll talk about more later in this video. My overall thoughts on the story though is, it's fairly basic, there's not a ton to it. However, I still enjoyed it, and I enjoyed being able to explore the different worlds and learning more about this game. They even added a bunch of different extra areas and different levels for you to complete. The game has a ton of replayability to it, and even though you know how the story will play out, it's still super enjoyable. The world building for this game consists of 7 different worlds for you the player to completely explore and complete different levels on. Now most of the time if you're not doing a level, you spend most of your time in the open world portion of the game. This mostly consists of you walking from one level to the next, which is normal for Mario games if I remember correctly. However, the reason I enjoyed this so much is you're not limited to playing the game any certain type of way. If you really wanted to, you can completely go explore the entire world before even progressing the main story. Or if you're a completionist, you can complete every single level available to you without even bothering with the story. If you're someone like me, I simply rushed and got as many wonder seeds that I needed and rushed the castle. Overall, I think they did a great job with the world building. Each one of these worlds is unique and has its own theme to it. Because even though this game isn't the longest game you ever played, it feels refreshed when you go into a new world. Bouncing off the topic of the world building, I wanted to go more in depth about the different worlds in this game. I'm going to be going through the worlds as I completed the game, but first I wanted to start talking about the main hub of the game, which is the Petal Isles. This is where Bowser Castle is essentially stationed at. This is also where you'll be putting those royal seeds to good use. Overall, the game is super beautiful. Petal Isles is no different, with a beautiful waterfall and floating islands that lead you to each one of the different worlds. It's nothing short of pretty. Next up, I'm going to be talking about Pipe Rock Plateau. There's not much that is special to this one other than it's the starting zone. You won't really spend a ton of time here in this world after you complete it. Next up, I'm going to talk about Fluff Puff Peaks. I gotta say, one of the reasons I enjoyed this game is because these worlds each have their own theme to them, and the levels or areas within them each have their own theme that go with it. For Fluff Puff Peaks, you're mostly climbing up the clouds to get to the top into the castle. The aesthetic to this world is by far one of my favorites. World 3 is Shining Falls. This one is a little different since you actually won't be facing off against the boss. You will actually be completing trials. Upon completing the last trial, you will be given a royal seed. Some of these ones can be difficult, but it's nothing you won't be able to handle. This world does have ancient ruins and a forest theme to it, and it's super nice. World 4 is Sunbaked Desert, and I really am not a fan of desert world areas or zones within games, but I will give it to Mario Wonder. This one is pretty unique, especially when I started running around and half of the missions are hidden like mirages in the sand, which I thought was pretty smart. World 5 is Fungi Mines. For me, this was my least favorite world, mostly because there was one stage here that I played at like 3 in the morning and I died like 10 times to complete. But looking at this world aesthetically, they did a great job with it. It really gives off a dreary aura that it's going for, especially being in the mine. The final world is Magma Bob Courses, which is really nice and well done, especially since they put a castle at the beginning and you will have to go explore the world to gather enough wonder seeds to come back to go to that castle. Another reason I like this one is because there's multiple ways to go down, but they eventually lead back to one another by opening up shortcuts. They did a great job with each one of these worlds, as I said before. Each world does give you a refreshing feeling. The game has option for 12 different playable characters. They consist of Mario, Luigi, Peach, Daisy, Blue Toad, Yellow Toad, Toadette, Light Blue Yoshi, Red Yoshi, Green Yoshi, Yellow Yoshi, and Nabbit. There really isn't much that changes other than the cosmetics when picking up special abilities. However, the Yoshis and Nabbit are considered like an easy mode since they actually don't take damage from enemies. You are also able to freely change characters throughout playing the game, which can be pretty convenient and fun, especially if you want to change it up. Or if you find yourself struggling on a level, maybe switch to Yoshi or Nabbit and make your life a little bit easier. The enemies within this game are no different than the usual ones you would find in a Mario game, with the addition of some new ones. I'm not going to be going crazy into detail about them because you'll roughly see the same ones throughout the whole game. However, the two bosses within the game are Bowser, who you fight at the very end, and Bowser Jr., who you fight multiple times throughout the game. None of the actual fights with Bowser Jr. are difficult. Sometimes they just take time, especially if you're a more cautious player. I'm kind of disappointed with the bosses within this game. After the second time, I was over fighting Bowser Jr., and I was hoping to see a different boss in the next castle, but that didn't happen, because really it was just the same fight, but with some differences based off of the world that you were in. Another boss, and I say that lightly, is going up against Bowser's ghost ship, and you have to stomp the button on its head, but really if you rush it, it will take you about 10 seconds to do this, so I'm not sure if this was intended to be a boss fight or even a mini boss, but there really was no difficulty in it at all. The last fight is against Bowser, and it definitely made up for the rest of the bosses. Right before the fight, the game introduces a new mechanic where it uses speakers to boost Mario, or whatever character you play as, which you then have to use these new mechanics to fight him, and I honestly thought it was really good and super enjoyable. The progression system throughout this game is simple. Throughout it you will collect Wonder Seeds, and after having enough of them, you'll use them to open up a certain castle, which you will complete to get closer to a larger castle, or you will receive a certain item called a Royal Seed. You then use those seeds to basically absorb the piranha clouds surrounding Bowser's castle. After you collect all 6 Royal Seeds, you will then be able to access Bowser's castle and face off against Bowser. The concept is fairly simple, and the execution in my opinion was great. The badge system is something that I believe is new with this game. Correct me in the comment section down below if I'm wrong, but this for me was the first time I've seen it, and honestly it was pretty cool, and as I continued with the game I realized I didn't actually care to bother changing them based off of the level I was playing. I honestly at some point just left on the floating high jump badge and never changed it. It was the one that I found was most useful, especially when you get the extra altitude. With it you can reach different areas. However, in the game there are 20 regular badges and 4 expert badges that you will be able to unlock throughout it. You are able to purchase some of the badges from in-game shops using flower coins or purple coins you will collect throughout your time in the game. The expert badges are unlocked by completing expert level challenges or completing all of the special challenges in the worlds. The expert badges are a bit more useful, but again for me personally I didn't really care or notice much of a difference in playing based off of the badge I was using. The retail price for the game is $59.99, and I gotta say, if you're a big Mario fan, then I would say just get it now. However, if you're someone like me who isn't the biggest fan, but you enjoy playing it, I would probably recommend to wait for either a discount or a sale. Now, I know Mario games aren't known for going on sale very often, however, I would still wait until you can find it at a lower price. You're looking at about a 10-hour main story, a ton of replayability potential, and multiple different ways to play the game, as well as being able to use different characters. A bunch of side content you can go back and do after the main story. You really do get quite a bit of bang for your buck. Now again, if you're not the biggest Mario fan, I would still recommend to wait, even based off of all of this.